Hi everybody. Today I'll be working on the vehicle wiring harness and the mounting the fuse box and doing some other wire routing. I've got, I smoothed the firewall. This has a tilt front end, so I want to keep it clean. This is going to be very visible. So I got to figure out my wire routing and where to mount the fuse box. But take a look. I don't know if you recall, but I spent a lot of time cleaning up this firewall. There were all kinds of holes in it. Used to have the firewall mounted master cylinder. Now it's under the floorboard. There were tons of gadgets and hardware bolted to the firewall. So that's all smoothed out. So I'm hesitant to chop any more holes in here. My idea, well, let me show you first. I've got the main ECU harness coming from behind the back seat. It'll be under the floor and coming up along the transmission tunnel. And I've got to wire that up yet. I'm waiting on connectors, so I'm not doing that right at the moment. But the main vehicle harness, I have a area on the floorboard behind this front cab support that I'm putting I put a hole for a grommet there. Probably have to add another one as well that will run the engine harness and the lights and all that through there. Also, I'll drop it down and go to the rear. Let me show you inside. This is inside. Here's the steering column. I have already punched one of the holes for a grommet here in the floorboard, so I could run wires, from under the dash along the kick panel there. I'll probably drop another grommet here, another hole. But I've got this aftermarket, it's a GM style wiring harness kit, a cheap one off of eBay. I probably should have spent a little more on a better one. But anyhow, I want to mount it up here out of the way, but I want to be able to drop it down, leave enough slack to drop it down. If I didn't mind punching holes in the firewall, I could mount it right to the firewall, or if I would have had the foresight to make provisions before I painted it, I could have, welded something in to attach it. So what I'm going to do now, though, is make a clamp to go around the steering column. This is a 2-inch outside diameter on this steering column. So I'll make like a saddle type clamp and a arm to hold this, maybe with one bolt that I could tilt it or unbolt it and drop it down to do whatever work I need on it. But let's get to that. I found this 2-inch piece of exhaust pipe. It's swedged on one end, so it's 2 inches ID on the swedged end. I'm going to cut that length off and then split it lengthwise on both sides. That'll give me the top and bottom of my saddle clamp. I'm just going to cut this piece off freehand with the cutoff wheel. Here's a trick I do for marking perpendicular to the diameter. I put some Dicom on here so I could see it easier, but I just use a hose clamp, like a radiator hose clamp, and tighten it around there. And you could even, if you're really anal about it, you could measure from one end to the other to make sure it's on there square, and then you could scribe right around here and that'll give you a good square cutoff line. This piece of exhaust pipe is 2 1/8 inch outside diameter. So I want to mark lines on lengthwise to split it. These are 1, 2, 3 blocks, 1 inch rise. And I have it clamped down here to hold it. And I'm going to scribe each side. And then I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. That'll give me an 1/8 inch gap between the two, give me a little crush and also some draft to pull the pieces off of the steering column. Here's the pipe that's split, and I've got some 1/2 by 1/8 inch steel bar that I drilled some holes in. And I'll clamp this to the table and weld it up like so. Well, here's the clamp part of my bracket welded up. I tack welded some nuts on the 1/2 of it. This will be the top side of it. but now we got to make the mount for the fuse box. I made this tab that I'm going to weld on the top of the saddle clamp. I've got some parallels to space it up. That should be right on the center line. And I'll clamp that and then tack it in place, weld it on both sides. I made this bracket that will bolt to the back of the GM style fuse block, and then it's going to bolt to this saddle clamp, and it'll pivot up and down. But let's bolt it in place. Here it is, all mounted in place. I've got it clamped to the steering column. Everything is very solid. It could, of course, be slid up and tilted forward and backwards. After I do my wiring, I'm going to leave enough slack in there that I could pull it up higher and tuck it up out of sight. But I think it turned out good. I appreciate everybody coming by the shop for a visit, and I will see you all next time.